Yo, welcome back. This is Unboxable number 27. Doing it in my car while my car fucking charges. So here we go. Primary host Roman. As you see, the episode is called Taking Consciousness Slowly. So when you start learning a lot, let's say if you learn too much, you can go crazy. You need to. Let's start off with this Masonic soliloquy, we'll say, and it's row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. The stream of consciousness is what it's talking about, and it's talking about taking you as a vessel and going slowly through life in that stream of consciousness and learning things very slowly, or at least to how much you can learn. There's a thing that says, like, the more like trauma someone's been through, the more hard their life's been, like the older their spiritual age is. So if you've had more hardships and your life's been genuinely harder, and because you've had to suffer more, your soul is going to be naturally more developed. And this also might be like the 7th time you've been on earth and you've been through hella suffering and stuff, so it's just karmically built up. Either way, you need to take consciousness very slowly. Some people can learn way too fast and literally lose it, or undergo psychosis or other things, and it's just like, you got to know your threshold and you got to be honest with yourself. I mean, if you've lived a really plush life and shit's been easy for you, and by plush, we'll lay down the parameters. Plush, I mean, like 2-parent household, so you have no base core trauma in your nuclear family. You have a family unit, and everything's went swimmingly, If that is your life, which is fucking absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what we all strive to do, is for our kids, and all strive all what we want. You need to just take it a little slower. You can't learn as much. Your consciousness can't be expanded as much. You haven't been impacted enough in other ways for that not to bother you. Me personally, I took it very fast ever since I was a teenager, very young, and I started learning or adopting other ways of thinking and whatnot. I started thinking, particularly myself, started thinking way different than the mainstream. I've always been charismatic and flamboyant and thought different, but especially in my thought forms. When my grandma died, my grandma raised me. So my grandma died when I was almost 12, around there, 12 years old. And she raised me for a good portion of my life, of me 1 through 18. I graduated when I was 17, so 1 through 17. She raised me for most of that. And that's what diverted my streams of consciousness. And also, you got to realize that's an extreme trauma for someone to go upon. That was my mom and my dad, essentially, that died at a young age. And I had to be moved to a different house, So that's like a big thing to go through in order for me to be able to expand my consciousness, grow my spiritual age. Like, that's big. So that was like just that was one thing, you know what I mean? I've been through way more than that. So I've been able to take my consciousness, my knowledge, my intelligence, and how I learn things and how fast I learn things way quicker than usual. It's on my own as well. So you got to be very conscious of how much of this you can take. For example, Mr. Nietzsche, he went insane, and he's one of the most revered philosophers ever. He literally had the quote about, if you look into the abyss for that so long, the abyss will look back into you. And it means just like the abyss is so chaotic and so expansive and so wide. The abyss is consciousness and things that are obviously abyss, meaning below, not surface level. It goes on forever, potentially, as it's supposedly it seems. I don't think it does, but that's another conversation. The abyss goes on forever. So this consciousness and different things you could be learning, and the real truth, the rabbit hole, can be seemingly forever. And someone can get lost in the minutia of it and the chaotic nature of it if they don't organize it, if they don't have the mental and traumatic capacity. Traumatic capacity, think about that one. That's a word that's not really used, but essentially, you got people in Mexico that grew up in a war. Got people in Iraq that grew up in a war, and some of them can come over here and be fucking fine. And these are kids, 6, 7, 8 years old. go through this shit, they could come over here and be fine and have no PTSD, if not barely any. And then some other people can be 30 years old and then go to war for 4 years, not, and come back and literally can't even sleep at night. So that goes to traumatic capacity. How much trauma can you endure? How tough are you, essentially, honestly? And some people, pain is subjective as well. So me watching my stepdad fucking die or my fucking whatever it might be, whatever trauma it might be, me watching fucking gangs affiliation, me watching drugs, whatever it might be, could be like a laughable matter to me. But someone else who broke up with their girlfriend, that could be like 3 times as worse as what I went through, even though my shit's way worse. It's subjective. Pain is subjective. So traumatic capacity can also be built through different means, but also let me expand on that a little farther. If someone has a lot of trauma, their traumatic capacity is going to be huge, and it's going to be hard to expand that. So most likely a girlfriend breaking up with them, or their dog dying, or some fucking celebrity that no one gives a fuck about dying that they knew, like, isn't going to affect them at all. Like, they don't give a fuck. But someone else who has low traumatic capacity could go through a breakup. It can completely ruin them, but it could expand their on-fourth traumatic capacity, their threshold to intake more than said person before. So it's just a two-way street. You really got to be slow learning. I mean, be honest with yourself. And I think also some people just have the capacity to organize things and do things without it affecting them and not having a huge traumatic capacity, because some people are more free thinking and can teach themselves, don't need more guidance. They can organize things better. Really, what happens when you go crazy is you can't have a peace of mind, and you can't organize the chaos. It's just, you go fucking insane. Like, shit's not making sense. So essentially, the abyss that's chaos and chaotic, you need to be able to intake and organize and put it to order in your head, or just completely discard it. Because if it doesn't fit the puzzle piece yet, why would you try to force it in? It's gonna fuck your puzzle up, So you just want to go slow with consciousness. You want to be nice to it. It'll be nice back. Accept it, appreciate it. People like Elon Musk, who I don't fucking really care for, he says, like, the number one goal in the world is expanding consciousness. And then to take it a step farther, is he says he doesn't even have the tools to be able to ask the ultimate question, because he doesn't know how to ask it. But that's also another conversation. So when you're learning, balance it. Balance is consciousness. It's heavy. It's heavy to know these unsettling truths. People can't handle the truth. And there's a matrix that we make. Honestly, we might purport we purport the matrix. We make the matrix so we don't have to face the truths we're not into facing. It hides these unsettled truths. You know what I mean? And we project the matrix, and it makes life more comfortable for us. And you got to just be slow, patient, learn things at a good pace, and also balance it with bullshit. And that's a balance, because if you have too much bullshit in your life, like TV, sports that are rigged, that don't matter, the grown men that don't even know your name that you're worrying about on a Saturday night, shit like that, it's a good balance, because it brings you back into the slowness of not living in God's speed, of chilling out and being slow. Let little wind down. If that's how you wind down, so be it. So it's good to go back, but don't go all the way into where you get fucking siphoned back into the matrix and you're just a complete fucking automaton bot again, because if you're an automaton, I'll speak from personal experience. I was pretty much an automaton until I snapped out of it when I was younger. Early teenage years, if not a little before that. Completely snapped out of it when I was 17. But automaton just being a straight product of your environment. Automaton definition means like you're a robot. You just intake programs and then go about your day. I was definitely a fucking automaton, and I know I did a lot of people wrong that I now still regret. And it's not because like I fucking was a bad person or anything. It's because I was literally purely running off just unconscious actions. There's nothing conscious about me. I was not aware of myself in any way. I grew up with a lot of hate. You know, I didn't have a family. I grew up around a lot of violence and drugs and whatnot. So it's just that's how I was, you know. So you never want to be an automaton, and if you are, it's never too late. But just know that the longer it takes for you to break out of it, the more potential you have to look back at how much time you spent as a complete robot, and then be like, oh fuck, dude, I treated him like a dickhead that day because you were dealing with this at home, you know. So it's like, you got to break out of it, man. That's how we're gonna break. That's how we change. Is we get out of these robot programs, this automaton thinking, and we change. You know. So let's do it. That's the conclusion of this episode. Have a good one.